This is the Speak For Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. We all got some time off for good behavior, and we're back. Well, except Whitlock. He's back tomorrow. Let's get to it. Cowherd believes with Andrew Bogut and Deron Williams, the Cavs are deeper than the Warriors. I disagree. How much is Deron Williams really going to play? I mean, Andrew Bogut, he's an end-of-the-bench guy. Are you going to mess the rotation up 50 games in? Not so sure about that, Cowherd. The guys debate if Russell Westbrook is pulling away in the MVP race because he had another triple-double. Give me James Harden all day. The host of the In the Zone podcast, Chris Broussard, breaks down the situation with LeVar Ball and the effect it's having on his son, the talented UCLA star Lonzo Ball. Former NBA All-Star Kenyon Martin. We really got into it. A great discussion about JaVale McGee versus Shaq. It's fascinating. I thought it was the best topic in the show. Boy, Kenyon Martin, very mild-mannered, all of a sudden got super fired up when I brought Carmelo Anthony into it. Hey, Shaq, why don't you pick on somebody that matters? And we debate if Boogie Cousins is worth the headache. You know the answer there is always the same. Never! Ready for Speak For Yourself? Cowherd, take it away.
Welcome to Speak For Yourself. I'm Colin Cowherd. I have no idea where Whitlock is. Seriously. We just hope he's okay. I'm joined by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard, 15-year NBA vet, tough guy who's really nice when you get to know him, Kenyon Martin, and Super Bowl champ Eric Davis. Let's start in Cleveland. Why not? It's the NBA season. LeBron's about to get the playmaker he's been demanding, as the Cavs are expected to add Deron Williams, good player out of Illinois, bounced around the league, can really score, though. He was released by the Mavericks on Thursday. Not only that, but former Warrior Andrew Bogut, 32, still got some legs, is negotiating his release from the 76ers with an eye on joining LeBron, too. All right, Broussard, would these additions make the Cavs title favorites?
I think I can argue now, if they get Bogut and Deron Williams, that they're deeper than Golden State.
Absolutely.
More versatile than Golden State.
Yes.
They can go big, they can go small, they can shoot the three, they can pound it inside the Bogut, but I still would favor Golden State. Just because you got the last two guys to win the MVP award, you're the best offense in the league, one of the top 2 or 3 defenses in the league. It's close. I mean, I think it'll be a pick-em series, but I would go with Golden State.
Here's the one thing with LeBron. When you somebody once told me this, it was Greg Anthony, the NBA player. He said the great thing about Phil Jackson, not counting the Knicks, he said with Phil, everybody plays their best basketball with Phil. Nobody leaves Phil, and they're a better player. Kyle Korver shot 63% on threes in February. So, to me, you're not just getting Kyle Korver, you're getting the best Korver. I'm not just getting Bogut, I'm getting the best Bogut. This is what Brady does to his wide receivers. So I think we're getting the best Deron Williams, the best Bogut, and that's better than what you've seen the last year.
I like what you're saying about them being deeper. I agree with you on that one. I think this is a deeper squad. It's going to give them the ability to do a lot more, but I don't think Bogut is going to tip the scale that much. The way they already play, the way Golden State plays, and bringing in Bogut was good for the Warriors. Why? Because they needed that interior defender. They needed that big body. They needed that space eater. They needed those 6 fouls. They needed something to guard the rim when they had him there. That's not how they play now. And I don't. Going against the Warriors, you getting big in the middle is not going to affect them around the three-point line. So you have to depend on a 60% three-point shooter. You have to depend on LeBron James playing otherworldly like he did last year to make them the favorites. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I would make them the favorites.
You're being awfully quiet.
No, I agree. No, I'm just listening. I'm absorbing it all in. I'm saying, but I agree with you guys saying, but I don't think that, like I said, Andrew Bogut is the answer. In order for you can say like Cleveland is outright favorite right now, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't compare adding Kevin Durant into adding Andrew Bogut.
Right.
And or Deron Williams. They're good players. They've been solid players throughout their career. But what KD added and joining Golden State is way more than what Andrew Bogut and or Deron Williams could give Cleveland right now.
It feels like a chess match. It's interesting. No matter, I was talking about this today on the radio show. Think how big the internet is. It's really Facebook against Amazon and Google. It's like a 3-team race.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up with this Pepsi
We're
and Coke.
hopeful throwing in San Antonio.
Yes.
Give them a shot.
Always.
When you look at the NBA right now, it feels like Cleveland is just building a team against the Warriors.
They are, because they know the East. And I don't know if you guys saw, Kyle Lowry just got injured. He's out until the playoffs start. Okay, so now the East is that much easier for Cleveland. So they're right to just build for Golden State. If they somehow meet San Antonio, if they beat Golden State, I think Bogut will help then. This is what people aren't talking about. Bogut and Darren Williams are very injury prone. Bogut's only played 2 games since January 9th. So remember, one of the reasons Cleveland won the finals was because Bogut missed games 6 and 7.
Right.
So that's another thing to factor in.
It is interesting, though, when Golden State went out and grabbed the piece. And it just feels like Cleveland's like, well, there's not the piece on the market.
No.
We're just going to try to 3% you to death. The one thing you said, I like the versatility of Cleveland.
Yep.
Channing Frye, Kyle Korver, J.R. Smith. Remember, J.R. can really play now.
Yep.
J.R. can really play. I think they can go big, they can go small, they can go 3, they can go mid-range. I see
So
Golden.
you're favoring.
I like
you're
Cleveland. I think the
favoring.
word you used, I think, or maybe Eric, I think Cleveland has much more dexterity. I think they can do more things.
Yeah, but then you still have to get Kevin Love back in the mix of things, him being out. Got to get JR back in the mix of things. He's been out.
Yep.
Excuse me. JR could be that playmaker that they've been missing if JR decides to be that playmaker. JR's been so content and cool with, I'm going to stay out beside this line, and I'm going to let this thing fly. I played with JR for years. Can handle the ball, make plays for him and others if he chose to do that. But that's not what they need right now. That's not what he is right now. So they're missing that part, like a Lou Williams type of guy, which I thought would have been excellent
Yes.
for them to go out and get Lou Williams.
Yeah,
like,
that was a big pickup.
like that's what I'm like, yo, if they can go out and get Lou Williams to trade deadline, like that's the piece. Then Houston went out and did. I'm like, well, they beat him to the punch.
To OKC, where my favorite player, Russell Westbrook, slight sarcasm, just dropped his 29th triple-double of the year in a win over New Orleans. It is amazing. Westbrook continues to put up outrageous stat lines every night, Oscar Robertson-like. But his ball-dominant style of play already drove away one big star, Kevin Durant. Kenyon, I don't think other stars want to play with Westbrook. I think, like Hollywood, an average actor will take a role. Stars are more reluctant. I think an average guy in the league, Enes Kanter couldn't be happier. I don't think stars want to play with Westbrook. Am I wrong?
I think you're wrong. Why wouldn't you want to play with a guy that brings that much energy and effort and determination and grit and whatever word you can look in the dictionary to define him? Why wouldn't you want that? Minus the turnovers, minus the quote-unquote bad shot selection, minus all of that. Somebody out there, a superstar, quote-unquote, would want to play with him.
But they said that about Marbury, and they didn't.
He played with Stephon Marbury.
I played with Stephon Marbury. It's a difference than playing with Steph.
What's the difference? Because to me, they're both. When Marbury was at his height, he was the greatest show on earth. He and Iverson. They didn't look like other players. They were faster and quicker.
It's a different approach.
Yeah, I covered those teams when Marbury was in New Jersey, and it wasn't just the way he played. It was the locker room,
it was
his attitude. And the thing with, and Kenyon can speak to that more than me, but Westbrook is not a problem in the locker room.
No, that's
now,
not
he's
an
a guy kind of to himself, but he doesn't rub guys the wrong way. He doesn't create this bad, dark atmosphere. He just goes in there and balls. And like Kenyon said, guys will love that energy. And his usage rate right now leads the league 41%. That would go down if they had another star.
If you have the right player around, that's going to go down.
And
Didn't he have the right player?
Well, that's the
And
thing.
it was down.
Yeah, it was down. And let's not act like he and Kevin Durant failed.
Yeah.
They got to the finals.
Yes.
They were a great team. We can argue they should have got to the finals last year. Maybe they would have won it.
But let's
Did
also-
Karl Malone and John Stockton fail because they never won a
Yeah,
championship?
but those two didn't break up. This was Brad and Angelina.
But hold
it was
on.
a public divorce.
But Colin, don't act like he left, that Durant left because of the ball hogging of Westbrook.
Or only because of that.
But because that's not the case. Westbrook is taking the shots because he just lost 27 points, so he has no choice but to do it right now. And a lot of people may say he's trying to prove a point, but the the reason that he left, and would another superstar want to play with Westbrook? I agree. Yes, he would, but it takes another alpha. You got to have that lead dog mentality to be able to deal with that and tolerate it. Good players want to play with good players. But if you don't have, and everyone viewed, in my opinion, you always viewed Durant as the alpha in that locker room. It wasn't. It was Westbrook. And that was the issue right there that led Durant to leave and get out of town. It wasn't that they failed. I agree. They didn't fail as a team. They were a very good complement. And every really good team, you're going to have more than one star player.
I like Westbrook.
If LeBron,
here's the problem. When LeBron loses a finals, Dan Gilbert, he goes 30, 10, and 10. Gilbert's like, quit. But Russell Westbrook drives KD out of town. It's like, well, he's a good guy. I mean, they just decided
he didn't drive him out of town.
Well,
that man, he's a grown man. Durant decided to make that decision.
There it is.
Whatever it was something that we don't know. We was not there. We don't know what it was. He made the decision that I don't want to play alongside Russell Westbrook.
We've seen a lot of quotes in the paper where it's like, I like the way Golden State plays.
Well, he did, and they play totally different. Like, he liked the ball movement, the player movement, the total unselfishness of that team. I'm not saying he didn't have some issues with the way Russell played. I know he didn't like the fact that late in the game, Russell wasn't looking for him. He was still playing the same way. But Durant, that's on Durant, too. Because Durant used to get bothered. I've been told that Scotty Brooks, the coach, wouldn't go to Westbrook and say, look, KD hadn't touched the ball in 4 possessions. Let's get him the ball. But Durant needs to be able to say that, too.
That's going back to who is the alpha. Because if Durant was the alpha, he would have said, give me the ball. How many times did you have a problem telling somebody to give you the ball?
Not at all. If I'm open, if I got a bad matchup, if I think I got my man, hey, throw that thing right here. And,
so now
you don't do it, guess what? We're going to talk about this after the game. We're going to get through this game, win, lose, or draw, and there's a conversation that me and you need to have.
And that's how you fix that.
I'll say this, too. After this season, Westbrook's going to average a triple-double, might be the MVP. They're going to probably go out in the first, maybe second round, okay? That could change him a little bit, too. That if he'll realize, look, I need another great player. And maybe if they get one, he'll play a little bit.
Figure that out now?
He doesn't have that
now.
Now
He doesn't have it.
He ran him out of town.
No, he left. He didn't run him out of town. That man left on his own merit.
He went to dinner with him and tried to convince him to stay.
I took a lot of dates to Applebee's. Doesn't mean I was interested. All right, welcome back. Joined again by Chris Broussard, NBA vet Kenyon Martin, the founder of TheBigLead.com, my friend Jason McIntyre. Let's talk Lakers. They've been in the news a lot. This is what UCLA star Lonzo Ball's father has been doing, talking Lakers. The LA product is a projected lottery pick in this year's draft, a really special player. And his very hands-on father, LeVar, said he hopes his son ends up with the Lakers. He later explained that Lonzo wouldn't only play for the Lakers, walked it back. Just that it's his dream to play for his hometown team. All right, Broussard, should teams worry about drafting Lonzo Ball because of his dad?
No, not at all. Number one, the way the rookie scale is set up, you would have him for 3 years. No question about it. You got him for 3 years. And the new collective bargaining agreement, the money, you can pay him so much more than anybody else that you have a good chance of keeping him. And who knows, in those 2 or 3 years, maybe you become a really good team and he wants to stay there. I know the dad talks a lot. He does need to shut up about some things. Don't let Steph Curry's name come out of your mouth.
Please.
All right, please stop that. But when Lonzo gets away from him, he will be an adult. He won't be in high school or college anymore. I don't think he'll want his dad speaking for him and things like that. So I would not hesitate at all to draft.
What do you mean you wouldn't want your dad speaking for him? Are you saying that Lonzo Ball thinks he's as good as Steph Curry or better? Because that's what it kind of sounds like.
I don't think Lonzo does.
Chris, this guy's a nightmare, okay? The last thing you do at 19 years old is you want your dad on TMZ and The Big Lead and all these websites popping off. Better than Steph Curry, a 2-time MVP?
I agree. I think it's ridiculous what his dad said.
I only want to play for the Lakers?
But I'm not going to put that on Lonzo.
Listen, if you're Phoenix or Milwaukee or Sacramento and you draft this guy, you know what the head coach is thinking? Kenyon, you've been in these locker rooms before. Oh, man, wait till the dad comes after me, wants my son playing more minutes. This is a dangerous situation.
But I hate to punish, because let's just think about this. To get to the bigs, like I met Bryce Harper's dad eventually, but to be as good as Bryce Harper or be as good as Steph Curry, all these dads are involved. You know, in most cases, there's somebody there. If not, there's an uncle. and they're in the stands screaming. We do live in a world today where the stuff you'd say in the barber shop or to friends ends up on TMZ.
Yeah.
Like his dad now is just talking. When I grew up, there was no sports radio. Now some guy puts a mic in your face. So listen, if a guy can play, can play. I think, I've gone back and forth on this as a parent. I wouldn't be objective about my kid either, but I'd hate for us to punish the kid.
That's what I'm
saying. His dad's a little unhinged.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, his dad definitely is writing a check out that his son might not be able to cash.
Might not.
You know what I'm saying?
Seriously.
He's a good player. He's still a kid. Key word in that phrase, kid. Let him continue to be a kid. Don't put him in situations where he might succeed or he might not. Just say, heaven forbid, he don't go where he's projected to go.
Goes to Sacramento.
Or in the top 5. Yeah. Then what does that do to his rapport, his well-being as a basketball player? No, you're putting a lot of pressure on that kid that don't need to be there.
If you're, let's say Lonzo Ball goes to your team, and his dad said he's the next this and he's the next that. How would players, as a rookie, treat the kid?
We'll just go out there and practice and let him know. Like, you still got to go out and play basketball. No matter what your dad says, uncle says, scout says, whatever, whoever says, you still have to go out and play the game of basketball.
I would agree with that. Let me add this. Isn't it putting a target on his back?
That's
a big target on Lonzo Ball's back.
Us as athletes, competitive as enough. A guy comes in, just say if he's on his team or not. We're looking at it as, well, you were trying to outdo me or you trying to take my spot. I'm not going to allow that, so I'm finna go after you.
It's already
there. Yeah. And you coming in without his dad. Just say if his skill level was where it's at without his dad. He can play basketball. Without his dad,
right.
The target is there no matter what. Because he's coming out number 1 pick, 2 pick, whatever he is. The hype is there. So now he's coming into the league and everybody's like, yeah, I'm going to get him tonight. Like he lined up against Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Like Chris Paul is
going at him and
he's salivating. Chris Paul is drooling like he is out there
tell your dad that I shut you down.
There's the old saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But my wife has a saying she uses all the time, and I think it's really smart. Parents can be a great example or a horrible warning.
Yes.
We see a lot of great kids from bad parents.
Definitely.
We see a lot of successful parents with lazy, entitled, trust fund kids. So to me, I want to judge the kid. I want to interview him. I want to go to the combine in the NBA. Yeah. So I think we have to be careful because we could have a situation where Lonzo is like rolling his eyes, talking to his brothers like, dude, texting.
Well,
Dad's going crazy.
He seems like a humble, granted, he's young. We're not seeing the full Lonzo Ball, but he does seem a lot different than his dad.
That's what I think.
And I'll say this. I hate what his dad said about Steph Curry, but I liked what he said about the Lakers. Like, I would love to see Lonzo Ball there, too, because I think he's just what they need.
But if you're Magic Johnson, do you want to hear that? Now the fan base is all saying, we got to get Lonzo Ball. Now you're backed into a corner.
Magic is the type of guy, he's going to do what he wants to do. But Magic loves Lonzo Ball, too. He knows
Magic should come out and, with that said, the statement said, well, we're going to draft the best player that's best for the Lakers.
Exactly.
To the bizarre battle between Shaq and JaVale McGee, the TNT host has made McGee a regular target on his Shaq'd in a Fool blooper segment. And the Warrior Center took to Twitter to complain last week, prompting a war of words that has dragged in everybody from the Warriors front office to Kevin Durant to Shaq and McGee's mom. While Shaq credited his mother for ending the beef, Pamela McGee had some harsh words for the Hall of Famer, saying, quote, he cyber-bullied my son, totally inappropriate. Shaq needs to lose his job or be suspended. The NBA needs to make a stand. Kenyon, whose side you on, Mom or Shaq?
Neither. But I get it on both sides, man. I get Shaq is probably taking it to the next level with teasing JaVale, this, that, and the third. And to Shaq's defense, JaVale is giving them material to go out and be teased.
Yes.
So without the material, there's no teasing.
Let me throw this out. Shaq sits on a set with Barkley. Barkley makes news once a week. And Shaq, I'm just throwing this out there, sensing I'm a competitor, I'm on a set with Barkley, that Shaq has sort of ramped up his dialogue, and I think he sees this is making news. That show, by the way, is newsworthy in the football season.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little set pressure where Shaq's like, I got to keep up with Barkley.
Well, I think there's some truth to that. I think what's being lost is this isn't just Shaq. Everybody's blaming Shaq. Shaq is not the producer of that show. That Shaq in a Fool segment, that's not they're all talking and Shaq just comes out. How about JaVale McGee last night? They produced that. The people that run the show created that segment, and they're bringing Shaq the material, the bloopers from the week, and JaVale keeps coming up. Yeah. JaVale really did try to inbound the ball for the Phoenix Suns.
Yes.
This year when he's playing for the Golden State Warriors.
Warriors.
Like, that's not Shaq making it up. And I think what's inappropriate, with all due respect to Pamela McGee, to call for Shaq to be fired over this, that's ridiculous.
Also, listen, I remember my parents went to games but weren't loud parents. I can remember playing baseball, and there was the loud parent, and it was arguing with the umpire. At some point, if I'm JaVale McGee, this is embarrassing, right? Like, my mom's defending me?
I think it's more embarrassing for Shaq, guys. Come on, why is he swinging down? We got a Hall of Famer in Shaq, top 20 player all time. Right. He's swinging down at a journeyman.
He's
That's what JaVale McGee is.
He's a
swinging down on this. It's a segment, but if you invite this man to your genitalia, what is he going to do?
That's what
JaVale did.
I try not to invite anybody to my...
Well, that's what JaVale did.
Shaq started.
So, therefore, he felt away, so Shaq wore words, it crossed the line.
Yeah. Listen,
the war words crossed the line. It was joke. It was all fun and joke.
Right, yeah,
this is when JaVale took it that level.
This is when a Twitter egg comes after you. Are you swinging down on a Twitter egg? No, you're swinging up at anybody, or you're not swinging down.
He's a professional basketball player.
I get it.
He's got a little thicker skin.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I agree.
Wait
he needs
a minute,
thicker
Colin.
skin. So who's to say when JaVale McGee's mom in Denver on the baseline yelling at other guys on other teams and stuff? Don't nobody say nothing about her,
Shaq has the bully pulpit, Kenyon. You know that. Why doesn't he go after DeMarcus Cousins?
Because DeMarcus Cousins doesn't do the things that JaVale McGee does.
Go challenge. Barkley goes after LeBron. He goes after Kevin Durant. Steph Curry. This guy's swinging at
He went after Dwight Howard.
People act like Shaq just started being petty. You act like Shaq just started being petty.
Be petty about Carmelo Anthony. Why does he have to go after a guy who's nobody?
What has Carmelo done for him to be petty about?
Carmelo Anthony's never done anything. Steal money from the
Really?
Knicks.
So is he on the same level as JaVale McGee?
No, they're different players, but
exactly. So has Melo ever took the ball out for the wrong team?
No,
has Melo ever threw the ball off the glass when he's down 40? Has Melo ever tried to jump from the free throw line and threw the ball against the backboard twice?
Are you going to make fun of the guy for 5 years?
Why not? If you give me material for 5 years, I'm going to make fun of you for 5 years.
Shaq, I think you got a problem with the JaVale McGee.
He gave him the material for 5 years. I'm going to tease you for 5 years.
Yeah. He's a Twitter egg. That's what JaVale McGee is.
And look, let's not just, I get where JaVale's coming from.
Exactly.
I can understand if you're the butt of the joke.
Yes, you like it's too much.
Exactly, and I get that. But I'm saying let's not just act like this is all Shaq. Again, the whole TNT company produced that segment. All of us have laughed at it for years. None of us thought this was too serious until JaVale came out and was upset. Yeah. And I get where he's coming from. I'm just saying this has gone way too far. It's been called black on black crime.
Yeah, I saw
this is why, that's ridiculous. This is a freaking joke.
Man, let's grow up. Listen, let's grow up here. He's a professional athlete. Okay. He's getting paid millions of dollars to go out and do a job. We don't always do that job to everybody's liking. We all done missed dunks. We all done tripped running down the court. We've all could have been made fun of doing something during the course of the game. His is more often.
Yes.
It's like low-hanging fruit, though, Ken. You never go after
it's easy. Hey, why not? Have you ever laughed? If I want to go fishing, why wouldn't I go fishing in a barrel?
We have posted on the Big Lead about that. We've posted, obviously.
Full disclosure. Come on, full disclosure.
But we're not doing it every day, every week on a
He's not doing it every day either.
He's doing it all. He's a clown of the week or whatever
guess
he is
what?
on
If you're doing clown activity, guess what?
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
you're a part of a circus.
You guys are bullies.
He's not making cyberbullying. Come on, that's ridiculous.
You're almost bullying him. This is really...
Lay off, Broussard.
All right, welcome back. Chris Broussard, NBA vet Kenyon Martin, Super Bowl champ Eric Davis back. Let's move to the Pelicans. Now an interesting team, win or lose, who might have reason to worry after losing their third straight since adding the very talented DeMarcus Cousins. He and Anthony Davis have put up monster numbers since joining forces. But Boogie is now set to be suspended a game after picking up his 18th, 19th tech. I've lost track last night. Broussard, we've talked about this. Is DeMarcus worth the headache?
I think he's worth it in New Orleans. Look, if it goes south and stays south, he's only under contract for one more season. Right. So you could trade him before the deadline or just let him walk as a free agent. where were they going without him?
All right.
So it's worth bringing him in, giving it a try. And I'm not concerned about winning the 8th seed, okay? Going to the playoffs, getting beaten 4 or 5 games by Golden State, that's not my goal. My goal is to get him into the franchise culture, acclimated to that, develop chemistry with Anthony Davis, figure out how we want to play, and develop his trust. Get him to trust us so that we can go forward and work together. I think their biggest problem is that Alvin Gentry needs to figure out the best way for them to play, which I think is big and slow. He wants to run, and I think that's their problem.
We are so seduced by talent. You know, I was thinking about this. How many guys, and I'll just use the word conflict guy, because I don't know their backgrounds. Sometimes there's medical issues, bipolar is all over the world in sports. So let's just call them conflict guys. There's, at any given time, 4 or 5 in pro sports. Off the charts. When's the last time conflict guy was brought into a new environment and long-term just changed? Randy Moss did for about 2 years, and then they let go of him. Like, are we just falling for the same thing over? Like Hollywood, we're just seduced by talent, but conflict guy is conflict guy. Katherine Heigl in Hollywood. The word's out. She's difficult. Everywhere, every group. Writers write her out of stories. I mean, at some point, we're all kind of suckers for talent, aren't we?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Gangsters don't dance. They boogie. Right? That's right. You know it.
Yes,
you heard it before.
yes,
That's what's going on. So Boogie coming in, this is year 7, expecting him to be different. Then, okay, you're banging your head up against the rock. He is who he is. You understand that, and you have to try to, we talk about it with other players, you have to sort of insulate certain type things, and you hope that you can have it insulated enough to where it's not explosive.
For short term.
For short term. So this is the thing. Do I think it's smart bringing him in? Yes. Why? Because this is not about Boogie. This is about AD. New Orleans is building their organization around Davis.
Yes.
So because you're doing that, you want to show him that we are trying to take steps. If there's a player that we can bring in the short term, if it works out, we're trying to give you that other superstar. You know you need it. We keep telling you we need it.
We're committed to you.
We're committed to you. So we have an opportunity to bring something in. If it works out, then we'll move down the road. If Boogie keeps doing what he's doing, you can move away from the contract, as you said, Chris. But I think what you're doing as an organization, you're showing your number one player that we are listening to you. We are trying to give you what you need. We are building and trying to move forward with you.
I agree with that. As soon as I heard the trade, I thought it would have been good. I like, okay, they 2.5 out of the 8th spot. They got a shot. But just seeing them play now, I don't think, like you said, I think they need to slow it down, throw the ball inside, play that way. But for them to be successful, whether this year or moving forward, Boogie has to look in the mirror and be like, all right, enough is enough. I'm in 7 years now. I'm not a kid anymore. I can't keep the same behavior and activities up.
Right.
Not here. And I thought he turned the corner at his press conference. I was like, just looking at his press conference and hearing him talk, it seemed like a burden had been lifted off him being out of Sacramento. I thought him going to New Orleans being like, all right, I got a fresh start. I'm going to do it the right way. But you can't keep up 30 seconds to the game, man.
You know, it is interesting is that I think coaches, they're mentors, they've been dads, most coaches, and there's kind of a savior thing. But if you really look, you could go for every troubled athlete. It all happened at 6. It all happened at 8. And we kind of think in sports, we're going to solve issues. I mean, you go back and look at Ryan Leaf when he bombed in the NFL. He got kicked off his Little League team. Now, no Little League wants to kick an 11-year-old boy off the team. Like, sports is funny. We're trying to save people, but all these issues, they all happen at 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and the reality is, it is difficult, especially when you're young and you get a big bank account.
But I think, I don't think it's good. Look, Rasheed Wallace was viewed similarly to DeMarcus Cousins.
Until he started winning.
I know there's a difference in that Rasheed's teammates really liked him.
Yeah.
And they didn't like Boogie Cousins in Sacramento.
Right.
That's a difference. But once Rasheed went to Detroit in a different environment, he was great. And he still got technicals and all that, but he was a champion and he helped them win. So I don't think the book has to be written. Yeah. His talent, Boogie Cousins, is good enough where I would take the gamble. If I'm New Orleans I wouldn't, if I had a good situation, I wouldn't bring him in to ruin it, but I'd take a gamble if I'm New Orleans.
Let me defend Rasheed, who I covered as the best athlete I ever covered. I will say this in defense of Rasheed. Rasheed's one of the funniest athletes. I think he was a genuinely good human being.
Yeah.
I think Sheed never wanted to be the franchise.
Yes, I agree.
Even though he wanted to be respected as the most talented guy. I think Cousins has a darker side. I think he can be tough on employees. Rasheed was never rough on me as a reporter.
He
Like,
didn't he throw a towel in the coach's face?
But what I'm
He
hearing
did?
from, what I'm hearing from
Did,
afar that Boogie was
Arvydas Sabonis.
what I'm hearing that like Boogie has been rough on the employees and people around
He's
Sacramento.
rough.
That, I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I'm just hearing it from afar that
Yeah.
it was kind of tough to deal with and be around him. But like I said, I thought going to New Orleans, he left all of that in Sacramento.
And possibly so. We can't just assume that the
30
one technical
seconds,
we
exactly.
can't just assume that
I
technical
know, but
foul means
I
that
hope
he
he's
hasn't.
learned.
Yeah.
It wasn't
I hope
that
he's
bad.
learned
You could
from
argue they
those-
should let
Yes.
that go. Yeah.
I agree.
75% of people who get remarried, it doesn't work. And the problem is, you go into the next
You're still
marriage.
there.
The reality is, we all sort of are what we are at some point.
This is the Speak for Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes, everybody. Love the comments, love the Twitter, Facebook reaction. Yes, we are on Facebook. Hey, quick note about Gonzaga. Remember how I asked, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I forget. I asked if they were a big fraud. Hey, they lost at 20-point home favorites over the weekend. At home, as 20-point favorites. And this is going to be a number 1 seed. Give me a break. UCLA, Arizona, Oregon, pick them out of a hat. Whoever wins the Pac-12 tournament, make them the number 1 seed. Gonzaga, get out of here. Talk to you guys tomorrow.